I've got two questions for you of similar ilk. What if your dreams could take you somewhere dark and you couldn't find your way back? What if your mind could wander somewhere dark, but your body couldn't bring you back? And welcome to Seismic Cinema. I'm James. I've probably written an essay on it. Paul has probably watched it in the wrong order. And Colin,
I've probably not seen it.
how are you, mate?
I was panicking. I thought you were actually going to make me answer those two questions, so I was glad it was more. I was glad it was more directed at the listeners.
It was, aye. You can answer them if you want later on, but I'm sure you will at some point, maybe do the podcast episode. So there were questions because this week we are reviewing the 2011 film Insidious. So Insidious. Actually, bizarre one. I actually looked this up and it said in IMDb that it's 2010, but everywhere else said it was 2011. So I'm going with 2011.
I think 2011 was when it kind of like had a kind of main release in cinema, possibly. But it was maybe came out somewhere else before that.
Bizarre. Aye, maybe. So before we go into the deep dive of Insidious, you are probably watching us already on Spotify or YouTube, but you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Blue Sky, which we're just new on, and we've got Facebook, the normal page, call it normal, and we've got a wee community group in there as well. So you can give us a research in Facebook, and then you can find us on the community group where we just post again what we do on Twitter, just kind of trying to interact with the people. As we're saying,
and if anyone, just going to say, just if anyone has any requests for specific films, then you can let us know.
Absolutely, we can go deep dive into them. We could even maybe get people as guests as well if you wanted to do that. You can watch and listen to us on YouTube and Spotify, which you're probably doing already. But you can also get us on Apple Podcasts, Audible, and Amazon Music. And this time, I'll give a wee shout out to our Podpack Collective, a bunch of like-minded podcasters in the independent scene who are trying to make the scene a better place to be and thrive. So give them a wee follow if you can. You can find them on Twitter. There's about 10 of them. So go into the Linktree and check out the podcasts. Again, they're not just film and TV. Podcasts is a variety of podcasts, so you might find something there that will tickle your fancy. So give them a wee follow if you can. Okay. So right now we are recording on a Saturday night. It's a rock and roll Saturday, Colin. Can it beat
this? Is this is as social as my life gets nowadays.
Well, to be fair, I'm looking forward to a longer lie tomorrow. I'm not writing down notes last minute for the podcast. So I'm looking forward to
What's
that.
A long lie? What's a long lie?
A long lie for me now would be up at 7 o'clock. Generally,
I just meant in general.
Right. Okay, sorry.
Now,
my head there.
now I've got a little baby. I don't really see long lies anymore, you know.
Aye, okay. So it's slightly different for me then. But
I can get a slightly longer sleep at the weekend than during the week. So,
aye. Since you asked, and I'm going to let listeners know, I usually get up about 5:45 Monday to Friday for work, and then I sleep a wee bit later, probably at 7:30 if I'm lucky, to start the days on the weekends.
You should have said that for the Patreon content. What time does James get up at?
Will we start? Right, okay, mate. So it's been a week since I've, obviously spoken to you in chats and whatever, but since I've really seen you, what have you been watching? What
have I been watching? That's quite a deep question. So I watched Insidious today. I was originally going to watch it last night, but I struggle to give things my full concentration on a Friday night. I'm just too tired from the week. So I watched Insidious today. Me and Aileen watched a movie last night. Don't know if you've seen it. The Girl on the Train. So based on a book. Emily Blunt, yeah.
Aye, I've seen it. Aye.
Watched that last night. I just quite enjoyed it. When I went on to YouTube to watch a review, it was getting kind of slated, but we enjoyed it. So, did you enjoy it, or
I
not
thought it was
enjoy
all
it?
right.
Yeah.
I watched that film kind of right after when I watched Gone Girl years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it would be quite similar actually. No, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So watch that. I'm still watching wee bits of Boston Legal when I can. And the main thing I've been watching this week, and to be honest, I've been kind of watching it like on my phone when I've been getting ready for work or like just when I'm eating my breakfast or whatever. But I've managed to get to the sixth episode. I've been rewatching WandaVision, the Marvel show,
Aye.
which came out during the kind of first lockdown, and it was a show I really enjoyed. I think just at that point in time where there wasn't a lot to do, it was a kind of shining light, and it was the first kind of after the Mandalorian. I think it was like the first. It was maybe the second kind of Disney Plus original show. So I've been rewatching that this week.
Aye. I remember, like, I watched it as well, man. Like, I'm not a big fan of the Marvel TV shows, if I'm honest with you, mate. I think they're all pants. I don't know. It just kind of feels forced, if I'm honest with you. And
I thought
then
WandaVision was quite unique in its kind of approach and storyline.
I like the idea of it. It was like the kind of the TV show element and all that. I like that. Feel like I remember it, but I don't know, mate. It feels like they're shoving it down your throats because you can't watch. Take Doctor Strange for example, right? You couldn't go and watch Doctor Strange in the cinema when it came out or whatever, because you had to really watch WandaVision before it because there was a kind of character development there, and I think that kind of alienates the viewers to a degree. So I'm
kind
not
of.
that.
I agree with some of the shows, but I did like WandaVision, and I liked Hawkeye as well. I enjoyed Hawkeye, which is technically a Christmas show set at Christmas time. So I'm gonna rewatch that probably as well.
Could do. Aye. Is that it then, mate? Is that all you've been watching?
Yeah, just WandaVision and the movie. So I usually watch a movie maybe Friday night, Saturday night, and wee bits of shows here and there during the week. But obviously during the school holidays, I tend to watch significantly more, as I'm sure you do too.
What have I been watching? Not a lot, mate, to be honest with you. I thought about watching Prison Break again, and then I didn't. So that's still been watched. I think I've just stuck on How I Met Your Mother on the background, really. Just
love it.
random episodes, mate. You know what I mean? I've just stuck it. I prefer the earlier episodes, mate, to be honest with you, and I kind of watch them. And then
It's
what's that?
I smell a How I Met Your Mother episode.
Do a pilot one of that. We've not done a pilot one for a while.
If I was actually thinking about a pilot one the other. Oh, I was actually WandaVision. I was like, we could do the first 2 episodes review, but you've kind of poo-pooed it now, so it's out.
Don't let me put you off, mate. It's all about balance, isn't it? All about balance. What else have I been watching? I think that's it, mate. To be honest with you, I've not watched anything ever since Dexter finished. I've not really had a focus.
Suits. After the Suits pilot, you said you would consider watching it.
I did say consider, didn't I? I would consider watching it. So we'll see. I might give Lost another bash, but and probably sit down with that and get right into immersed in that. So I'm going to give that another bash.
Did you ever watch the other series from the Lost creators, The Leftovers?
No. They done Fringe and all, didn't they? J.J. Abrams done Fringe. One way, Tucker Jackson.
Does it have to be a long form show, or could it be something a bit shorter?
What do you mean? Like 8 to 9 seasons or something?
You should watch Community if you've not seen
it. No, I haven't seen that, mate. No seen Community.
You like it? Donald Glover.
All right.
Anyway,
Jason
we're going off
Bateman,
on
that.
tangents.
I know this is
No.
what I've been watching, or what I meant to be watching, or what you're telling me to
You
watch.
said nothing apart from How I Met Your Mother.
Aye, and obviously Insidious as well for the review. I actually watched Insidious twice because I'm that committed to, making this podcast grow and for folk to listen to us and get some deep dives and some into the themes and all that.
We're two subscribers away from 160.
That's that. We got a good few the last few days, mate. So we're 158 now. So if you're listening and you're not subscribed, guys, to the YouTube, go and do it, please, because at the end of the day, it doesn't cost you money.
Don't say please.
I know, why did I say please? Well, talking into that.
Say thank you.
Say
thank you.
2 away for the 160 mark, and then we can set the heights to 200. All right. So let's move on. Let's move on, buddy. So let's get into it then, because you're here for the Insidious review. So let's get into it. So a quick synopsis of the film then. So Insidious is a supernatural horror film that follows the Lambert family, who experience terrifying paranormal events after moving into a new home. When their son Dalton inexplicably falls into a coma, strange and disturbing occurrences begin to haunt the family. So I think it's a fair wee plot there.
Indeed.
The director was James Wan. It was written by Lee Wannell, who actually features in the film as well. Did you know that, Colin?
I did not.
No, we'll find out who he is shortly. The cast is Patrick Wilson, Rose Byrne, Ty Simpkins, Lynn Shay, Lee Wannell, Angus Sampson, and Barbara Hershey. I've probably missed out a few there, but those are the main
the
players.
evergreen Rose Byrne, who's not aged in 20 years.
Where else she in?
She was actually in Attack of the Clones. She was Padme's, like, one of Padme's handmaidens. There's a Star Wars reference.
It is a Star Wars reference. You got it in.
And she was in, the Bad Neighbors films. I don't know if you've seen them.
Seth Rogen.
Seth Rogen. She's probably in lots of. She was in X-Men, the First Class.
So she was.
Probably some other things as well, no doubt.
Aye. The budget for the film was 1.5 million, and it took over just 100 million. So that was some cash back in that.
Not a bad return.
Not bad. It was stupendous. Runtime was an hour and 43 minutes. And I thought this week I would start including the tagline of films, because I quite like the tagline of films. So the tagline of this film is "What's in the picture?" So
I liked what was along the bottom of the screen before our banner came up. It was like, it's not the house that's haunted, it's the was it the boy or something?
The boy. I've seen I put that background on. I thought, was that the tagline? That's not what I wrote down. But no, the tagline is what it is, a quote from the film, but because that's what Hingy says. Elise.
Are you going to? Sorry, I was going to say, were you going to mention in the review what the word "insidious" means? Because I accidentally looked up the definition earlier, and it's quite interesting. But if it's part of your plan, I won't ruin it.
It's not part of my plan, mate.
It means proceeding in a gradual, subtle way, but with very harmful effects.
It's quite,
which is quite fitting for the film, I'd say.
Yes, I'd say it's quite apt. Where was I before you rudely interrupted me? IMDb rating 6.8 out of 10, and then the Rotten Tomatoes it got 66%. 6. That'd been funny.
Not the highest we've done, maybe.
No. So before I do go into the film, I just give you a wee bit of the background there. What is your history then, Colin, with the film? When did you first see it?
So I had it like in my head that I'd seen it ages ago. Maybe I did. You know, sometimes you watch films like 10 years ago,
Aye.
but then 10 years passes and you're like, I think I've seen that, but I'm not 100% sure. So I had one of those kind of experiences. It was one we almost reviewed. Do you remember when we did it was before you kind of joined full time, but it was we did like a horror month and we did Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Silence of the Lambs. Insidious was meant to be part of that collection, but for whatever reason we didn't do it in the end. And then
I know why.
why?
Because Paul watched chapter 3 first and then didn't realise it was the Insidious one that you were doing.
Yeah, probably. I honestly can't remember why, but I then watched it over the summer, possibly. I watched it this year anyway, and we actually ended up binging all 4 of them, like kind of back to back nights. So, although when I came to rewatch it this week, I couldn't remember half of it, but as the film kind of progressed, I started to remember more of it. Aileen points out that she thinks we actually watched this while Amber was really young and was like keeping us up to like we were staying up to 2 a.m. just so she would actually go to sleep. So maybe sleep deprivation was the reason why I didn't remember it that well.
Nah, possibly. Question for you: did you watch the film with the lights out?
Probably.
Mm,
Well, most of them.
yeah. For me, I watched this in the cinema. I went to the cinema to watch it. So me and my brother went to the cinema to see this film, and then the ones that followed after. We were big fans of the film, actually, when it came out. So I've seen it a few times since its release. But obviously, doing a podcast on it, you go into a wee bit more detail and a few things that you maybe don't catch the first or the second time round. You kind of see things a bit differently. So I'm quite interested to actually bring them up tonight. So, so cinema, seen it a few times. Actually, I said I'm a big fan of the actual, the series of films, man. So, like yourself, I think they're decent.
It's a good kind of binge movie series, if that makes sense.
Aye. So, am I right? Am I trying to do a wee bit of a dive on this? But I'm pretty sure. I'm actually about 90% sure it's the same director who done Paranormal Activity. You seen that film?
It's another one. I want to say yes, but I think if I did, it was over 10 years ago.
Aye.
There was like a period around kind of 2011, 12. I'd watched a lot of horror films, but they've all kind of merged together at this point.
Because this fella, Patrick Wilson, he's in quite a few different kind of horror films as well. So I'm thinking it might be the kind of same actor with the same director type guy. Conjuring, he's in that and all.
Right.
Patrick Wilson. So I wonder if the same actor. Anyway. So that was our history. So as mentioned, it was released in 2011, according to my sources. There's a lot that goes on in this film. For 1 hour 43 minutes, mate, there's a lot happening. And there doesn't seem to be any sort of dead space. There's always something happening to question. So I'm going to just touch on the opening scene. Right, the opening scene is very important because it's my favourite word of the podcast. It foreshadows a lot that happens thereafter. So you see a boy in bed. The camera cuts. You can see a shadowy figure at the window. The camera turns around, and you get the shot of a kind of old woman in black standing in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's a foreshadowing because we know what happens later on. We won't tell you, what happens now. We'll come to that. But I found this bit a very kind of good introduction. Not just actual kind of the sense of the old lady that's staring right at you, but I think the music as well. But I need to give a shout to the music. It was by Joshua Bishra. The whole score was done by him. I found the score to be quite unsettling.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually kind of liken it to Shutter Island to a degree as well, because it's that kind of sense of dread, especially when you see the woman and then you get the kind of the violin screeching, all that kind of, it makes you on edge. And I think I put on the group chat, like the introduction to that film is fantastic, man. I love it. And it just like for the rest of the film, you're going, what's going to happen here?
It launches you right into it, doesn't it?
Aye. Did you enjoy that scene then?
Yeah, as you said, the music kind of lets you know as soon as the movie begins, like what sort of experience you're in for, and as you said, you also get a lot of the kind of demons kind of in the kind of initial scenes. So yeah, I think it's a good kind of setup, because sometimes when you get a horror film, it starts off with just the regular life, and then the supernatural stuff starts to seep in thereafter, and they do that a wee bit here, but obviously that opening scene gives you that before you meet the main characters.
Aye. Like on that, really, just like I don't think it's your typical horror film as such, because it is sort of dealing with supernatural beings and all the rest of it. I think playing on the mind of people watching it is a lot more the horror.
Is it Renee? Is that the
Aye.
Rose Byrne? So like a lot of the film, you as the audience, you maybe don't know whether she is seeing anything, or whether she's maybe sleep deprived, or maybe other stuff going on. So there is that kind of element of, are people actually seeing things? And obviously the dad is a kind of non-believer. It's a bit of a similar theme in things we've looked at recently. There's always like one character that just doesn't believe in the supernatural elements.
That's right. Was it last week then? Hocus Pocus, wasn't it? No, the week before that, Hocus
2
Pocus.
weeks ago, yeah. But obviously, in the Ring, the mum doesn't believe in it and the ex-boyfriend, he doesn't believe in it for quite a while either. So it's quite a recurrent theme in kind of horror themed films.
Like just kind of that what we've seen. It was obviously dark. I don't really know the sense of time that was on it, but it seemed dead old anyway. But then you get when the horror music kicks in, and you get to present day. So you get Josh and Renee kind of move into their new house, and then you see 3 children. And now I completely forgot there was a third child. You don't really see. I think his name's Foster. You don't really see him.
There's 2 brothers, yeah.
You don't really see him as much. Maybe he speaks like 3 sentences or something like that, because he said he's worried about Dalton, but I forgot about him. But in this scene where she's kind of unpacking all her stuff and all the rest of it, you kind of see that there's stuff kind of disappearing. She talks about, I moved this box here, where's the stuff go? Things are leaving and all that, and you don't know where things are going. So there's a sense of kind of something's a wee bit off here. But there's also another foreshadowing aspect in this as well, because it's Dalton, I'm sure it is. He's asking for pictures of his dad, and he can't find any.
Yeah, that's right.
So he's like, right, so I can't find any. I don't think we've got any. It's a bit strange. No,
I'd forgotten at that point that part of the ending. So yeah, that's quite a good catch. Yep. There was a bit in the opening scene I really liked where, do you know how the openings kind of and like the title cards are it's like black and white, but then when it transitions into the present day, it slowly changes. Like the first time you see Renee, it is in black and white, but then it quickly fades into the color. I quite liked how that was done.
Well, I've noted down here that it's very dark lighting, and it's got kind of muted colour. So I think they've done it on purpose. So the haunted kind of house type aspect to it. So
yeah, because when we were watching earlier, Aileen's sister was there, and she went, "Oh, your TV's a funny color," and I went, "No, that's an intentional color scheme choice of the creators, you know."
Good podcast, man. Your TV's on a blink.
I was preparing. I could relate a lot to the opening of this film because obviously I've just been through a house move and having a young baby. So see when she's like got boxes everywhere and sleep deprived. I was like, right, I can definitely relate to the characters in this film.
I'm going to call you Renee then from here on in.
Oh, there was a distinct kind of sadness and loneliness about it as well. Like it kind of showed what like the parent who's at home with the child's life can be like in terms of loneliness and not having time to complete tasks that you want to do. You know, which you try to practice her songs.
Well, I'm going to come on to that because obviously he doesn't want to come home at the end of the day, does he? He wants to stay away. So, the house is obviously a haunted house kind of aspect to it. There's a foreshadowing aspect of Josh's pictures. And she's still hearing strange noises at this point, so things are going missing and all that sort of thing. So we've already got a sense of eeriness in the house they're in. Things kind of progress, and Dalton's the boy. Dalton goes and explores the attic. In the films, there's a wee bit, maybe a couple more scenes after that, but he goes into the attic to explore it. Again, it shows you as well that he's kind of fearless because he's wearing a Superman cape into it at the time. So you generally find that kids anyway are fearless. They're not scared of anything. So I don't think personally I would have went into love that age, but I don't know. I think it does give a general overview that kids are fearless.
He's got a bit of the Bran Stark about him.
Yeah, that's true. He does actually. So I goes into the attic. He falls for the ladder, injures himself, but he kind of sees something that terrifies him. We don't see what it is. We just don't see it, but it's obviously terrified him. His parents go up and find him. He's fell off a ladder. I think this scene, it plays in people's kind of like worst fears because there's the claustrophobic aspect to it as well. Folk don't like enclosed spaces. People don't like having the lights off either. People are scared of the dark. So it's bringing a lot of kind of these fears into people's, as you're viewing it, going, I don't like the dark or I don't like enclosed spaces. So it's bringing in shadows as well and, all that sort of thing. Folk don't like that, and it's bringing that eeriness into the viewing.
And there was the wee thing in the corner. Was it like not a fire, but it was like some kind of heater or something?
That reminded me of Home
Alone.
Yeah. Is it Home Alone? Is that? And he's in the basement.
Aye, he's scared of the. Is it not the washing machine or something? He's scared of.
I thought it was.
He's scared of something.
I thought it was like a log burner or something. I don't know, man. Like a furnace thing. I don't know.
Well, I'm sure you'll be watching the Home Alone films over the festive period.
Oh, why? It's got to be done.
We've reviewed 1, but we could review 2 or 3.
We done 3, did we not?
We planned to, and we didn't. So maybe that's one we could revisit.
Aye, okay. So we don't see what that kind of shadowy figure is that terrifies him. So it kind of leaves us in suspense as well. Like, what did he see there that's actually made him fall? And then he's in a panic. So what comes thereafter is a plethora of supernatural encounters. There's loads of stuff that happen here, and I've got it written down. I'll probably look at them all down, but there is a load of the horror tropes you see. There's the whispers, the creaking, the moving objects. You've got doors opening and closing. Again, stuff that plays in your mind that you don't like to. If you're isolated, as Renee is, a lot of the time, she's starting to kind of feel a wee bit, something's not right here. So, I think one of the things that got me, mate, not got me, but one thing that kind of unsettled me was like the baby monitor aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously, you'll get I can't remember the kid's name now, the baby.
Same.
What?
I said same. Know? I can't remember.
I thought. I can't remember now. But anyway, the baby monitor. So obviously, what the purpose of a baby monitor is, but you hear whispers and you hear kind of noises through it. Callie, that's what it is. Aye, thank
Foster
you.
and Dalton.
Aye, thank you, co-pilot. So, aye, so you hear these horror tropes are coming out and all the rest of it, and it's the classic kind of haunted house aspect, bringing it out to the viewers, and obviously she's being isolated, and it just heightens her, her being scared even more. So here are a list of things I've got written down. Right, so these are no particular order here. So we've got the baby monitor, the creepy noises, banging at the doors, the alarms go off, check the door, there's no one there, the shadow figure man at the window, all creating the sense of unease. But you mentioned it as well. You said that we don't know because they're in a state of mind at the time. We have either been sleep deprived, the stress of moving house. Was she actually, imagine? I don't imagine she made up the baby monitor because we heard that happen because it was the shouting through "I want it now" is heard through that. We heard that as well, but we just don't know. I'll come on to the dancing boy later on, but I think the dancing, the shadow figure at the window, we see it for a split second and then it goes away again. So we don't know if from the point of view of Renee that we do see it or we don't. That's good as well.
And obviously her mother-in-law sees in one of the other scenes the Darth Maul figure, and but the husband isn't a believer, so like you see his face and he's like doubting his mum and his wife about whether they're both kind of making things up. So again, it throws what's happening into a bit of doubt as well.
Aye, because she's like frustrated. Do you know what I mean? So like no one's believing in her, or she's the one actually seeing this. She actually says to him, like, you're not well with me. Like, so she's seeing and hearing these herself. But yeah, he is there eventually because obviously the alarm goes off and all the rest of it. And
see that scene, by the way, when how much does that just kind of, it's a horrible sound, isn't it? The alarm going off just goes right through you.
It's piercing, absolutely.
It was perfect for the kind of atmosphere of the film, though, I think.
Oh, aye. So my question for you is that those supernatural scenes we've seen, right? What would your response be? Like, so if you heard that baby monitor going and you heard the voices, the creepy noises, the door opening and closing, the alarm going off, no one there, the banging of the windows, the doors, how would you feel if that happened to you tonight?
Well, it's obviously quite hits home quite hard because obviously the scene with the kind of demons in the baby's room is obviously terrifying as a parent as well. So I would be quite freaked out. Yeah, I'd be just getting everybody in the one room, making sure all the doors are locked. Don't really know what else you can do.
I know what you can do.
What's that?
You can phone Elise. We'll come on to that later.
I should have worked that one out. So how would I feel? Yeah, you'd feel quite freaked out. You'd be quite scared. Maybe not so much for yourself, but for like your family's safety and things like that. Because I live in a really quiet, wee kind of neighborhood where I live, and we've got a dark garden with big trees and a stream and everything. It's perfect horror movie setting out here.
Aye, it's pretty much that. You've got everything there, mate. Streaming all sorts.
How would you?
And plus, you're living in.
React?
Of course you'd be frightened. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say
the rat poison it.
Aye, No, I don't have poison, mate, because my dog. I told you that before. Right, so I just get the traps out. Just get the traps.
Rat traps, yeah.
What you could do, you could just get a ring doorbell, couldn't you? And you could see who's doing it.
Do you think the spirits show up on the ring doorbells?
I don't know. You can timestamp it? No, I don't have a ring doorbell, so I wouldn't need.
Horror movies will never be the same again now with the ring doorbells.
Of course I'd be scared. I mean, you're not like. We all have fears, you know what I mean? And think that.
I thought you didn't have fears.
Well, I've got a fear of dying, mate. I've told you that before.
I was winding you up because you're always putting on the big bravado.
Aye. But I've said in previous podcasts, I do have that fear. So I think, I mean, what I think for that, all those, there would be two things that really would freak me out. The baby monitor one, 100%, because that's unnatural, you know. And then you've got the door banging and then the alarm going off, because that's obviously created to disorientate you, that alarm. I mean, if that alarm's going off, you're not concentrating on what's going in and out the house. You know, it's quite sinister that way.
I hope Paul doesn't pull a prank on me by turning up at my house and starting to set off alarms and hit windows and stuff.
You never know. You never know. How far he might stay that way. He doesn't stay as close to you as he did before. You know what I mean? But I still reckon.
We're probably about a 40-minute walk from each other now. But a 5-minute drive, really.
Aye. I don't think where you stayed was that big.
Yeah, I'm quite far out, but I live, yeah. But I'm a 5-minute drive from work, you know.
Right, so again, more supernatural kind of things happen. So, but at this point in time, Josh is choosing to stay at work now. Josh, you're a teacher.
Another teacher episode. I was thinking that when I watched it as well.
I know. I'm like, oh, not another one, man. No, not another one. So that's quite a few. We've had
another one back to dust.
Quite a few now. We've had. We don't mean this, people. We don't mean it. It just happens to be by chance. So
so it's interesting. He was saying he had to pay for his son's medical bills, but what he was staying on to do was marking. So unless he's marking for like the exam board, why is he getting extra pay for marking papers?
I'll tell you something, mate. I'm up for the exam board. They don't pay you that well, so I don't know what he's hoping for.
I've done it twice, and I'm not doing it again. It's not worth the time effort.
Oh, it's all about the CPD, mate. At the end of the day, isn't it? All about all that. Anyway, so he chooses to stay late, so he doesn't have to go back and face the terrors that existed from the previous night. So Renee gets annoyed at him because obviously he's not back home till 10:30, you know, and in school he's marking papers. Well, he wasn't marking papers, but that's what he says. But at this point,
really feel for Renee because
no, you do 100%, because she's isolated. She needs somebody to help her, because this scene kind of is in two. You see Josh and you see Renee. At this point in time, Renee is in Dalton's room, and then she sees the kind of handprint, the bloody handprint on the bed of Dalton, which again, what is that about? And then she's obviously angry at him as well because he's choosing to stay away and not come home.
Because they're not communicating. Because she was like, "You taking the boys to school?" He's like, "No, I can't." It's like, "Are you picking them up?" "Oh no, I've got a PTA meeting." It's like, if I had parents' night, or I wouldn't wait till the morning to tell Aileen I couldn't drive the kids to school or meet them after school. Do you know what I mean? Like any solid couple would have that discussion in advance, you know.
But bear in mind though, like that Dalton at this point in time is in a coma, so there's a lot going on in their life. I mean, so to be fair,
no, this was beforehand. Before Dalton went into the coma, she was saying like, "Are you giving the kids a lift to school?" So there was clear communication
Aye,
issues between them, even before that. You know.
aye. No, that's fair dues, mate. That's fair dues. But at the point in time where, like, Renee finds a bloody handprint, it doesn't even look human, to be honest with you. Josh is a flashback of a boy from the beginning of the actual film, but we're not really sure yet if it's Dalton or if it's him. It's just a flashback. We're not really sure yet. That becomes clear later on. Spoiler alert, it is him. So Renee challenges him, and then he sleeps down the couch because, well, I can imagine because of the fact that the noises from before, he wanted to be on hand at the door.
No, I think she kicked him down to the living room because he was working too late and not communicating. I think that was a punishment.
I don't know.
That's the way. He was in the doghouse. Let's be honest.
I don't know. I didn't take it that way. I just thought he was there to protect the family.
That's the way. That's the way I took it. That they'd fallen out and he'd been told he had to sleep on the couch.
But there you go. It's created a
I'm
conversation.
not talking from personal experience here, by the way.
So, but there you go. A conversation we don't really know because it's not explained. So you've got your interpretation. I've got mine. But
that's the beautiful thing about film, isn't it?
It's beautiful indeed. So Renee is some sort of. She wakes up at this point, and then there's people walking about outside their windows, shadows back and forward, and then we see the man with long hair in the room who attacks Renee. At this point, she's obviously scared, and she tries to kind of get Josh, and then they communicate, they decide that, okay, Renee, I am going to move out. I'll move out the house for you because you're going through this trauma. But at the same time, in his head, he needs to move out as well because he's affected by it as well. He's just no communicating that to her, and he's no telling her, because that's the reasons why he's staying at work late, because he can't face it because he knows there's something no right himself.
But he doesn't quite know the full truth yet.
No, he doesn't. And then the man in the room who attacks Renee, after a bit of research on this, is known as the long-haired fiend, which is my screen name if you're not watching it on YouTube. But I'll stop my name because I am the short-haired fiend. I don't have long hair. But there you go. So they move in with Lorraine, Lorraine is, of course, Josh's mother. And then, I mean, this scene is probably, I don't know if it's the most iconic scene or not, because a lot it does happen here. We get into just to the song "Tiptoe Through the Tulips."
It's terrifying.
It is terrifying, especially in this film. I don't think if I went and listened to it before this film, it wouldn't be terrifying. It's the nature of it.
Oh, imagine it just came on your Alexa right now.
Aye. But it's the nature of it, because you see a boy dancing in the living room because when he's doing her chores, putting the bins out and all that, and then puts the record on, the record changes as well. You hear the kind of crackling of the record player, and it changes to that song. And this is where you were talking about as well. We still don't know whether or not it's in Rennie's head, because she looks through the window and they see the boy dancing, move back again, the boy's not there, the music's turned off. So we don't know whether or not that's in her head.
Did you notice the dancing boy earlier in the scene when she's walking through the house?
Aye.
And he's just standing still, kind of on the left of the shot.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was good. But so she goes back into the house, hear the child laughing. That's creepy as well, man. The kind of child laughing, running away. It's like as if he's playing hide and seek or something like that. So she chases the boy. Again, these scary scenes, these creepy scenes are still continuing. She sees shoes, and then she kind of like where I think it's like curtains or something like that. And like the chest of drawers, and there's nobody to hide in there. But right away, the boy jumps out. So that jump scare, did that get you? The boy jumps out the cupboard.
It's hard to remember because it's this time round wasn't the first time that I've seen it, but I think it was probably in the top 2, just off the top of my head, in terms of jump scares.
Aye.
Pretty freaky anyway.
I don't remember myself in the cinema, but I'm going to guess it did. You know what I mean? It's just why they scenes it. But you thought because
But
it was
the
the red herring was like the shoes, and it would just jump out in you. But the actual, it was
she
the
was
tap.
relieved.
Aye,
Because she was like relieved for like a second when she thought it was just the shoes. So I think that's what made it work as well as it did.
100%. So I think it's clear now that it's these spirits are following her. It's not the house it's haunted, it's her or something.
I do think the dancing boy is probably the most one of the maybe the most unnerving part of the film, just in terms of sheer like creepiness.
No, I would say so as well, mate, because
Yeah.
the rocking horse and all just starts moving, doesn't it? So
there's a few other bits towards the end of the film that are probably up there as well, but obviously I picked the dancing boy as my screen name, which shows he was obviously a memorable part of the film.
I was surprised when you put Dancing Boy, mate, to be honest with you. I thought it'd be because I thought you would have put the Dancing Queen. Sorry, mate, a bad joke. Anyway, back to the podcast. So Lorraine, Josh's mother, describes so Lorraine's back at this point, and she's got this premonition, this dream of being in Dalton's room. She explains this to Josh and Renee, and then she sees this kind of red-faced demon. And then, as you know, again in the corner of the room, she was talking to the demon, and he's like, he wants Dalton, you know, the rest of it, blah blah. And then, as the scene turns, and she's explaining to Josh, you can see the red-faced demon right behind them very quickly. Again, another jump scare. And when that happens, they all kind of jump from the table. What's wrong, Lorraine? What's wrong? They hear the noise for the room, Dalton's room, and the place is in utter tatters. Something's locked him in, or locked them out rather, and they've destroyed the place. Now, before I let you come in here, mate, about this scene, I wanted to bring to attention, see Josh, when he opened the door, he didn't seem bothered with the fact that his son was lying in the flare. I thought his reaction was a bit strange, because he was more concerned about the room, the state it was in, as if he'd seen it before. And I thought, that's a bit strange. And then it was Renee went, "Oh, Dalton!" and ran towards him. And then he went, I forgot Dalton there. So what's your take, mate, in the whole Lorraine dream sequence and the red face, or Darth Maul, what you call him?
There's a few things in there. So, like the earlier scene when they found the handprint on the bed sheets.
Mm-hmm.
So that's obviously quite kind of intense and worrying for the characters, but it was like the a wee bit of the calm before the storm. There was like some blood on the sheets, but then in this future scene, the whole room has just been totally ransacked. So it's obviously upping the damage and the chaos as you're progressing through the scenes. And I was wondering, forgive me if this was already obvious, but see the Lorraine. So obviously her son, you find out, has this ability to kind of travel into the what was it called again? The
further.
The further. Does that mean she kind of had that ability as well? If she was seeing these things inside the dreams and talking to the demons, I don't know if that was confirmed, but maybe she passed that ability on to him.
No, I thought it was his dad, his father, had done it.
Right.
And I thought it was that. Maybe I misinterpreted that, but I thought it was his father.
And so, sorry, what was the other part then? Yeah, so it's It is quite a freaky bit when the red faced demon, who makes quite a few appearances and is just like suddenly behind his head, and they're both the Renee and Lorraine are both freaking out. And at that point, the dad's still not. He's still not a believer. There's a scene we'll probably get to with the drawings where he does start to. That's the kind of catalyst for him starting to accept the help that they're taking on.
Aye. So, aye. I mean, Renee is seeked priests, seeked scientists, doctors. They can't explain anything. So science has really failed because, like, just going back to like his coma, like the doctors can't describe it. They can't explain like why he's in this, and that's the kind of enough fear of the unknown, like being trapped in it as well. Like you can't. You see as well. See, being told something. I don't know what's wrong with you. You get symptoms. I don't know what's wrong with you. You get worried. You get scared of that, don't you? So you've got to Google and you find out. As people tend to do, do you know what I mean? Oh, what's wrong with me? I've got this, I've got that, and the next thing, and they go off. And to have something wrong with you can't explain is worrying.
Yeah.
And they have created that sense for the family as well as us as viewers.
Something we didn't mention was the brother. He mentions that the brother who's in the coma is actually, he gets up and walks about at night.
Aye.
Which was also quite concerning as well.
Because as we know later on, like we don't really see the projection walking about. We don't see that as us being in the real world, if you want to call it that. So the fact that he can see that, I don't know. It doesn't really explain it anymore in the film. But obviously, like the films, there's
Have
a lot more.
Have you watched the other three?
I've seen them ages ago. I've actually stuck on chat for
Yeah.
so I've stuck on chat for 2. I'm going to watch the rest of it.
Cool.
But anyway, so Renee needs help. And who's she going to call?
Who are you going to call?
There we go. Oh, that was good, mate. On the same wavelength.
Anymore, that's a copyright strike.
On the same wavelength there. So Renee calls the Ghostbusters. Or as we like to know.
That'd be a good crossover, isn't it?
What's that?
That'd be a good crossover, Insidious and Ghostbusters.
Aye. You broke up there, mate. Sorry, I didn't hear you. So the Ghostbusters is known as Specs and Tucker. So Specs, who you see, it actually wrote Insidious. So he is also starring in it as well.
Oh, is that him? Right.
That's him, right.
Specs. See, as a glasses wearer, I find that term insulting.
Oh, come on. But I found these two to be funny. The kind of comedy aspect here, I like them.
See the other guy, not Specs.
Tucker.
He's actually one of the actors, one of the main cast in The Lincoln Lawyer. It's a legal show on Netflix. You've probably seen it pop up on Netflix before.
Do you like legal shows?
I dabble. Yeah, but anyway, that's where I knew him from before.
All right, okay. So you've seen them before. I've seen these two clowns in anything, man. So I don't want to call them clowns. They're nice, perfect, nice gentlemen, I'm sure. Anyway, I found them too.
They won't want to come on as a guest for Chapter 2 review then.
No. Because they're quite prevalent in Chapter 2, actually, for what I've seen. Anyway, so I found them quite funny, actually, these two guys. So they were quite funny. They said, "Oh, chat my door," and he goes, "Oh, you must be Josh," and he goes, "Aye." He says, "Don't worry, I'm no psychic. At least somebody told me." And
they have a really bad quote later in the film. It's like one of them does all the, like, he draws what she says. So that's Specs, and they're like trying to like big each other up, and he's like, "Oh, a picture paints 1,000 words," but Specs is having none of it. He's like, "Aye, but 1,000 words also like shows 1,000 words, or it was just like a really like bad like bit of dialogue.
Aye. He also Specs also finds a figure, like a kind of figurine type thing, and he goes, "Oh, this is really hard to find, but you should have kept it in the box." So it kind of shows his kind of geekiness as well at that point.
Yeah.
A
bit of comic relief in quite a dark film, I suppose.
I know, 100%. I like them. But they've got the gadgets out. They've got the PKA meter, is that what you call it in Ghostbusters? They got the sticks and all that, and they're trying to look for kind of paranormal activity.
Paul's your Ghostbusters guy, I think.
Aye. And then as he kind of used the camera, Tucker sees two girls. They're twins. I'm not sure if they are or no. But he goes back and goes, "We gotta call Elise." And we've got Elise who arrives, played by Lynn Shay, if my memory serves me right. Who I thought was really good in the film. When she came into it, I thought things kind of moved up a notch. I thought she was really good. I found it interesting. Elise chooses to knock rather than ring the doorbell. It actually says that I didn't know the doorbell was working, and I thought, that was a bit of an odd quote. You right there?
Yeah, I was just laughing because I thought you spotted a continuity error.
No. I thought this was deliberate, actually. So I thought that actually knocking the door would be quieter to kind of, I don't know, to maybe not disturb energy with the noises. I'm just thinking back to the alarm for earlier on in the film. I don't know. We never really heard the doorbell. Never did. Don't know what it sounds like.
I'm glad you touched back on that because there was a bit earlier in the film I wanted to quickly mention. It was when the baby's crying, like the first time and the second time. That's probably because the spirits in the baby's room, like that's probably happening even at that point.
Oh, aye.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. I don't know. Did you notice that? Which is why she said that? I mean, she didn't need to say it. Why would you? Do you mean I just found that a bit strange that bit of dialogue between her and Josh knows Josh as well.
Yeah, because their mums are. She's friends with the mum.
Aye, friends with his ma. Elise investigates. Specs draws. That was funny.
Yeah.
We drink of that, mate.
He's a very fast writer and drawer. That's some superhuman abilities, that is.
He's got the skills, mate. He's got the skills. For drawing for a description, and she was going dead fast. Even when she was describing, he was like going to slow down, but
she goes even faster later on when she's wearing the snorkel, doesn't she? It's like the start of the In-Betweeners movie.
I'm actually, you've called it a snorkel.
Ham in the snorkel.
You've called it a snorkel, mate. I've written gas mask like.
All right, it is a gas mask. It's not a snorkel. I don't know why my head. I think it was, yeah. She looks ridiculous though.
I know.
But that's the second time round, because the first time round, he's not believing her, and then she gets chucked out, and then when he starts believing, she comes back and puts on the snorkel.
No, because he says, "I'm sick of the dog and pony show." Talking about the Specs and Tucker, and then they'll go. But then you see, like you mentioned it earlier on, mate. He sees the drawings on the wall, the red door again, like the red is obviously a prominent aspect. You know,
sequel, prequel. Not sure, is it a prequel or a sequel?
I don't know. There's been a prequel. Anyway, but the red highlights the held into it and danger and all that, so that's the symbolism there. But he believes now, and he gets Elise back.
the main reason he believes is because one of the photos says like I went to sleep and I saw my body and then I floated away or something like that.
That's it. Like, I think he was maybe starting to cry a wee bit as well. You can see he was emotionally connected.
That's his character arc moment where he follows the hero's journey. It's his call to action.
Aye. But before he is called to action, you get the Elise wearing the gas mask like thing or snorkel, and she's it's it's like a seance kind of thing, isn't it? It's like a seance type thing, like
yeah.
Aye, and basically she's talking to the demon. Well, she's trying to get Dalton back, trying to get him to follow her voice, get him back, and then he's like, going to be quiet, like, he'll hear you and all the rest of it. Demon finds Elise and then starts kind of calling her names and all that. She's at this point, Specs is writing down everything, the dialogue between her and Dalton. Very quickly. And crayons as well. Can you imagine, like, you're writing crayons?
I was trying. See, when I was watching it, I was trying to imagine hearing something that's probably coming at you really quick and responding that quickly to write. Do you know what I mean?
It's impossible.
It's unnatural. You have to suspend your disbelief there, I think.
You ever try to write fast? As hard as it is, but write fast and actually make out the writing, and then write fast with a crayon and making out the writing. There's a lot in that.
Have you ever been a scribe?
No.
Well, I was a classroom assistant at one point, and the only time I remember scribing, I accidentally wrote my name on the exam paper instead of the candidate. So yeah, I wouldn't have been a very good transcriber for the unnatural.
Gone too fast for you. But so Elise comes back to the real world, but at this point, a demon has taken over, or Dalton's been possessed. There's stuff happening in the room. You can see the long-haired fiend. You can see the other beings in there. The red face demon is also in there as well. He's actually part of Dalton. You can see later on in the camera that he is Dalton, trying to get his physical body. And then that's when Elise says to the rest of them, no, Josh's past has been revealed, that he had this when he was wee. He could astral project, out of body experiences. He was haunted by a sinister figure, the old woman who was seen at the start of the film. Every time a picture was taken, she would be there. It would be far away, it'd be closer to him, kind of symbolising the fact that she's getting closer to possessing him. So he was the only one who could really go in and actually pull him in, because he was the only one who could travel into the further to rescue him. Did you see that kind of revelation happening, mate? Did you? Oh, I think it was. Looking at it now, it seemed quite obvious.
Yeah, I think the first time I did see it, I didn't see it coming. Obviously, there was that bit of foreshadowing with the photos, but you weren't really to know what that meant at that stage. But I think it was quite a good reveal that he doesn't like get his photo taken because of the kind of trauma of the past, which is quite interesting because you get quite a lot of people who don't like getting their photos taken. Like, I wouldn't say I'm absolutely massive on it either, so I wondered if I've been possessed when I was younger as well.
Aye. You can take my photo if you want to, mate, but you need to get my good side.
What says that?
You cheeky bastard.
See the photos that the kind of his childhood photos.
Yes.
There's one photo, and in the corner, if you look closely, you can actually see what's the Scripps logo.
I was waiting on it, mate.
He's back.
I was waiting on it. I thought you were going to go down the road. You went so far into the further that you found what's the script. I thought that's where you were going to go with it, mate.
That'd have been silly. Can I tell you just a really quick true story? See, when I was in primary 5, and I know for a fact this primary school teacher's no longer there, or wasn't there very long anyway. Primary 5, 10 years old, we used to get told stories about this teacher's daughter levitating off her bed. Like, she literally believed in the paranormal and would tell us stories in class when we were 10 mentally.
That is mental. What did you do? What did you do today at school, Colin? Oh, we learned about
Honestly,
oh Jesus, levitation.
primary 5, and I remember it so well. She used to always tell us these stories about her daughter, like, floating in her bed and things like that. Do you know what I mean? So
Right.
there are people out in the world that actually believe these things.
Oh, of course there is, mate. 100%. There's people in the world who believe in things like Bigfoot and that as well. Do you know what I mean? So there's not to say that there's people who believe in ghosts. You know what I mean? Anyway,
Yeah,
I went off my
that's
tangent
a wee
there.
fun fact for you.
Aye,
I know, but it was really. I thought it was really relevant to what we're discussing. So
fair dues. Right. Where were we? Right. Okay. Josh reluctantly agrees to go into the further. So he's obviously frightened at the fact that his past could come back and get him. Right. So he was told before he went into the further that he had to keep 1 foot in the real world. That meant he couldn't get involved, couldn't speak, he couldn't let the spirits know he was there. So the moment he kind of got involved, the spirits would know that his body was there in the physical world to be taken over. That was the whole point. Him trying to keep kind of incognito, if you want to call it that. Which kind of seems impossible actually, because the fact that he has to go into the and get his son. But
a wee bit like the Stranger Things, isn't it? With the upside down.
I was going to say that. So I've only seen one season. I've only seen one season of Stranger Things, right?
So have I actually. I couldn't get into season 2 at all. It's always one I've wanted to go back and get into. I just couldn't quite get there.
As soon as I watched this, watched it again, I thought, this is get kind of Stranger Things vibes because it's got the upside down, the further, it's different kind of realities.
Oh, I've got a show for you. It's a German show that's dubbed over, but it's fantastic. Dark. It reminded me because it has kind of Stranger Things vibes, but you should watch Dark.
Where can I find that?
It was on Netflix. It's honestly brilliant. Like, it's one of those shows that, like, its fan base absolutely love it. It's like kind of time travel, kind of mystery kind of show.
Right.
Yeah, there's your show. Sorry.
No, I'll give it a
Sorted. So a wee bit of Stranger Things vibes with the kind of the further.
aye. So when we haven't seen the further at this point, we've not seen it before. The first time we see the further is when we are following Josh through it, and it kind of seems like the house, doesn't it? It's like a deeper. He's in the house, but it's no the house type of thing. He's moving around it as he kind of goes through the house to find Dalton. He sees a lot of spirits. There's like a family sitting on a couch, kind of as if they're watching the television. They're not moving at all. You see a woman as well who's just standing, again, no moving, but then she blinks, and that kind of scares him a wee bit. So he's going through the further. He sees the red door. He knows the red door from the pictures that Dalton drew, so he knows that's where he's got to go to. And then he's met up with the long-haired fiend with the battle. He gets through that. Again, it's a lot of kind of horror vibes in there. There's the lighting, all the rest of it. He gets through the door, but I don't know what you call this. I mean, it's like I don't know. Obviously, the red door symbolises hell. But he gets through that, and he's in the I don't know, the demon's lair. I don't know if I want to call it that, but he's in there, and that's where you hear the music again. Tiptoe through the tulips
with the puppets.
With the puppets' eye. And you can
this whole bit's freaky, I'd say.
I know, 100%, because the whole visuals there, the music behind it, not just like the tiptoe through the tulips, but I mean like the score. whenever he
Just-
meets something, aye.
And just the people sitting silently in like their couches, like they're by all accounts watching TV or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But you can't interact with them.
Aye. What was it Elise said? She said something like torture souls as well. So like
Uh,
not just spirit, it's not just like, parasites or demons. It's torture souls.
real people who live life. Do you know what I mean?
Aye. So that is a representation of them as well. So the whole thing was quite unsettling, I think, because you just don't know what he was going to run into next.
There's a few good jump scares in this sequence as well.
What like?
See the one where there's like a bit where like one of the women go like really close up all of a sudden to the camera, but then there's a bit where he goes into like the wardrobe and there's people standing there, and then all of a sudden they just like smile, kind of out the blue. So that was the other jump scare I mentioned, which was up there with the dancing boy from earlier, the one in the wardrobe.
Oh, aye, that definitely. I mean, I think see when he interacts with the demon, the red faced demon as well. Like, what do you want? Leave him alone and all that. It's like shouldn't really done that, but you understand why he has done it. I mean, but at that moment in time, he's forgot his connection to the real world. His foot has left the plane, and he's now people can
This
access him. When you call it that.
this part of the film just it gets a bit mental, doesn't it? It's just kind of chaos, and it's quite hard to track, like when you're in the real world and when you're like kind of what's happening, you know.
Aye. Was there not a kind of impersonation as well, Josh, in the further?
Can't remember.
Aye. So, okay, so he manages to get Dalton, and then it's that kind of, oh, I've got you now, I'm here, blah blah blah, but I need to get you back now.
Yeah.
So he's done, the hard bit is getting back with him, and it's just that kind of, we just don't know if he's going to get caught or no, or he's getting chased. Again, we see these spirits. It's really unsettling because you just don't know what's going to happen next, especially the ones he's had interactions with, that kind of call him the long-haired fiend.
There's a scene where she's in like you see her through like a mirror,
Aye,
which is obviously the one that's been haunting him since he was was haunting him when he was a child.
so she's back. She's known as the Bride in Black, by the way. She's known as the
Bride in Black.
So she's back in black, as the ACDC something goes. So that's potential for him to be possessed as well. So they get back, and they're back in the physical world, and you can subtly see that Elise isn't quite sure about Josh. Now she's obviously done this for hundreds of years, so she knows, no hundreds of years, but she's done it for a long time. She knows when things aren't right. She first notices his hand as well. It focuses on that. Different colours, I don't know. So it raises suspicions. Then she takes a photograph of him. So even though she knows he doesn't like to get his photograph taken, she knows it's going to cause a reaction from Josh, and that kind of triggers the anger from Josh. He angles her, saying, "You know how I don't like getting my photo taken. Why would you do that? Blah blah blah." Now Josh would have done that. You just know he's not that type of person. You've never seen through the film. He was never violent.
Yeah.
And it just kind of went, okay, that's odd.
So a slight spoiler, but obviously in the second one, it's the whole plot's basically about him, isn't it, and being taken over.
Aye. Do you think the second one will? We'll go into it. We'll maybe touch on the second one a little bit, but basically, at least take the picture. Lisa's dead. Renee comes back and goes, "What happened to the rest of it?" And she picks up the camera, and could see the woman, the bride in black. It was Josh, and she knows this because the pictures from before when she seen that Josh is a kid, that she was there, and now she's there, and Josh wasn't there. So that was to hint the fact that he is now possessed.
That was a freaky image as well when you see the you eventually see the picture where he's been replaced.
Aye, because we see it from for a kind of audience point of view, but then we see it from Elise's point of view. Do you know what I mean? She takes the picture and then you can see that the actual the spirit, and then moving towards her. That was like that was quite.
I like that. I like that you didn't see the bride in black the first time. Like it's like the second time you see the picture, you see her. I think that added that wee extra layer of attention.
No, definitely. I mean, I think as an audience, what happened there?
You're really anxious to see like what did she see, like what caused this. I would say, like we talked earlier about what's the most iconic part of the film. I would say him murdering her and seeing the image in the camera. I would say they're actually probably the most, because although I didn't remember all of this when I rewatched it, I remembered that bit, and I remembered that was coming up at the end.
Aye, I think for me it's probably the dancing boy scene.
Yeah, that's really eerie, but that last bit was just really kind of sinister, and just I think it was so out of the blue that he, as you said, turned violent and killed her, and then the revelation that he's been kind of taken over and the repercussions that will have for the films to come.
Aye,
because it goes back to what we said in Hocus Pocus and The Ring as well. You think you're about to get that happy moment where the son's been brought back, the family are back together, but then at the very end, it's setting up the sequel with the dad being taken over. So it's kind of taken away from you again.
I quite like that aspect of it, though. I'm not saying these type of films, these supernatural films, tend to have like 3 or 4 sequels. Do you know what I mean? But I do like the idea of the fact that it's not all happy. Do you know what I mean? For a film of this genre, I'm quite glad. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I do like that. Just touched on what you said as well before about we don't see what was on the picture. I think that is good, and I think it's always good to leave us as the audience guessing, because we want to know. Like, tell us what we want to know, and we'll hang on to it. And I'm glad we did find out. And like you say, it is set it up for chapter 2, when it's all about Josh.
Mm-hmm.
Aye. So I mean, there is quite a few things to unpack here. I mean, there's a lot of few.
Yeah. I think we did it justice.
I hope so. And if if you've got any comment for people who are watching and listening, if you have any comments on what you thought of the film, how you thought of the review, did you like it? Did you like our review of it? Then please let us know. We'll be, as always, we can get back to you and give our thoughts and stuff as well. So,
and see if you don't, we're gonna seep into your dreams and pull you into the further.
Aye, that's it. I was, I can't get my Batman reference in. I was trying to. I was thinking about it. Just can't. But what I did think of, Josh should have went into the further and went, "Where are you?"
Is you doing a Batman bit? You just try to steal my bit?
No, I'm going to put a Batman. I'm going to put it in my contract that I need to put some sort of Batman reference in.
Okay, I'll stick to Star Wars. It was an easy one because Rose Byrne was in Star Wars and Darth Maul was in this, so it was pretty easy, Yeah.
That's true. I'll just shoehorn mine in. I don't care about what you've got to say about
it.
Yeah. Alright, so okay, so that's our review of Insidious. So I'm going to touch now on the Twitter comments and Facebook comments. So we've got a couple. So the first one was from our friend, Project Football Podcast. So that's Mark. He's watched Insidious a few times, a few years ago, and I thought that in terms of modern horror film, it was one of the better ones. So yeah, I mean, I probably hold it in higher regard than what Mark does. To be honest with you, I think I quite enjoy it. It's not just one of the better ones. I think it's up there. It's up there. Yeah, you want to add there, Colin?
No, I'm going to wait until we do our seismic stars before you've dealt your cards too early, I think.
Well, I've only got one. I've only got one more comment, so I've lost it now. Just bear with me. Just bear with me, guy. Here we go. Right.
You had one job.
I know. So, for a comment, Bree, the little ghost boy gave me literal nightmares, and I said yes, that was creepy.
So that's Dancing Boy.
That's Dancing Boy, yes. Dancing Boy. So it's time for us to give our seismic stars. So, Colin, out of 10, what do you give this film?
I'm going to go 7.
Okay.
So I like the music. I like the kind of storyline. I like the kind of, what's the best word I'm looking for? Like the revelations, like the fact that it happened to him when he was a wee boy as well. I like the kind of dramatic ending where she's strangled. I like the kind of comic relief characters, and there's a lot of great jump scares and kind of creepy moments and all that kind of stuff. There were a few things I wasn't as keen on. Maybe that was just the vibe they were going for, but I thought there was some bits of dialogue that were quite a bit too kind of cheesy and a bit like the one about the kind of, that was kind of their banter, but the bit about like the painting and like the like 1,000 words paints 1,000 words, and there was a few things that happened. The calling it the thirder.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a wee bit, I don't know, it just sounded a bit ridiculous. What did you make of the name for that bit?
I wasn't really that bothered about it, mate, to be honest with you. I thought it was, what would you call it?
I don't know what you would call it, but I think, as we said earlier, like how like Stranger Things, it was called like the Upside Down. So it was already a kind of familiar concept, but I don't know, just the name, the further, kind of stood out to me as something I wasn't too keen on. I like this film probably more. I don't know. I don't know how I felt about the kind of scenes where she's like they're doing the investigating and they're going into the further. I think I liked this film more when it was a kind of mystery about what was happening, and it was all the kind of foreshadowing, and there was the jump scares, and there was always that bit of uncertainty. Obviously, there had to be some kind of resolution to the plot, but I'm not as keen on like when they use like the snorkels and the gas masks, all that. But I don't know, some of that bit just seemed a wee bit kind of silly and a wee bit too out there for me. But that doesn't take away from all the things I loved about the film, like the characters and the music and the jump scares and a lot of the horror elements. But some of the kind of astral projection bits and those scenes I thought were maybe just a wee bit too kind of out there at times. But that was just my thoughts anyway. But 7's still a solid score. There's horror films I've liked better, but I definitely think it's rewatchable, and I enjoyed watching kind of through the 4 films when I did it. So there's a lot to love, but there was also a wee bit, some bits of dialogue and just some of the aspects like that. The kind of astral projection stuff's not my favorite kind of part of these kind of films. But anyway, so I did like the film. There was just a few bits I thought were maybe just a wee bit too, maybe a wee bit silly and a wee bit out there, but I'm still like it enough to give it the 7.
Aye. So if we're going to bring up problems to a film, mate, at least provide solutions. You know what I mean?
Well, like a different name.
I don't like the further, but I don't know what else to call it.
Let's call it the don't know. I'll edit. I'll edit this in post.
Right. Okay. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10, mate.
So you're not far. You're not far off me.
No. I mean, I like the supernatural. Like I was saying earlier on in the podcast, like yes, I think horror films now are going towards that kind of way of supernatural horror with Paranormal Activity, The Conjuring, and Annabelle. That series of films as well. It's a kind of sideshow of The Conjuring. Sinister as well. We've got loads of things in films like that they're all kind of doing the same thing. And I don't really know where else they can go with it now because, we kind of know where jump scares are going to appear because we've seen, that many films of similar ilk.
I haven't.
But 8 out of 10, I mean, I'm not as critical as you. I think you're maybe a bit harsh on it in certain elements like the dialogue.
It's just not that. I don't know. There was just a few. There's just a few wee bits I thought were a bit silly, but yeah, it's all about opinions.
Aye, I mean, I like the astral. I mean, the one thing I will say that I'm unsure of the gas mask. Like,
Aye, I just felt when she put on the snorkel, it was just a bit too comical and a bit over the top. It's like, what is she actually doing?
But I understand why she's doing it because she's obviously trying to create a kind of atmosphere between her and the further, and so she can hear them and all that. But I think it could have been. We didn't really need that scene. That scene could have happened in something else, and then that attack.
I just think her character in general and the gas mask. I don't know. For me, it took a wee bit of the tension away from the scene because it just looked silly, and she was just. I don't know. I don't know if I liked her character that much. Like, she also had a really important part, but to me, she was a wee bit too kind of silly and a wee bit too over the top at times.
Oh, that's a bit. I really like that character. I thought it added more tension to it. The gas mask snorkel aside, I think that should have been cut.
This is going to be the snorkel episode from now on.
Going to go a deep dive in a snorkel. No, that scene could be cut. But anything else I didn't really like? I don't know. I like the idea of being outside a kind of comfort zone. Like, we don't like things like scared of the dark, creepy noises. It all brought it to life. Do you know what I mean? I love it. And there's better horror films out there, in my opinion. But I thought this was good. I see it in the pictures as well. You know what I mean? In that environment, which again is different. You know what I mean? So I'm going to get out of 10. Everything you've said is valid, mate. Other than the fact you don't know what you call the further. But
if I look at this versus The Ring, which we did last week, I preferred The Ring out the two films. That's just my personal preference. Don't know about you.
That's again, it's that hint. You don't that kind of supernatural. We don't really know what's going to happen next. I think. I mean, I'll ask you this: the film is an hour and 43 minutes long. Now, we spoke with it in great detail there, and if you just listened to a podcast and hadn't seen the film, you'd imagine that the film is longer because there's that much.
Or we just go off on a lot of tangents and talk too much.
No, I'm just talking about the key points key points. I mean, I think there's a lot happening, and that's what. So it's quite fast paced, I think.
Yeah, it's not. It's a nice watch in the sense of it's not. It's a kind of sweet spot. I like films that are just under 2 hours because they're not too short and they're not too long. You know.
Oh, definitely. All right. Is there anything you want to add before we wrap up?
I'll try and think of a good name for the further for next week.
Aye. And do you have a film for next week, mate?
Well, James, I had 3 films because I was quite keen to keep on a kind of keep milking Halloween up to the end of November before we do some festive flavor. Then I thought we could milk Christmas into January as well because there's so many great festive films.
Okay.
So I had 3 kind of horror films in mind, not horror films, like horror kind of Halloween films. But then I was given a suggestion in my household for another film, which is what I'm going to go for. But I'm going to give you some honourable mentions just before we finish. And I'd be interested to see which one you would have picked out of the 3.
Right, okay.
So the options were Smile, which terrified me, and obviously the sequel's out in the cinema right now. The second choice was It, in particular, maybe contrasting it with the miniseries, which is also on Now TV.
You mean
Which
the original one? Or the
It,
top one?
the first It one that came out in the cinema in kind of the late 2010s.
No,
But
the one in
I,
the 80s.
I would have been quite interested to compare that to the miniseries that came out in, I think it was 1990. It was like a kind of 2-parter. It was like 2 hours long, basically, in total. I thought that'd been quite fun. And the other one I thought of, which is, and these are all things, It, Smile, and the one coming up are things we can maybe go into in the future. I thought Ghostbusters would have been good fun at this time of year.
Yeah.
But the one I'm going for, because my stepson George's mentioned it quite a few times. I've never seen it, which is very on brand for me, and it links in well with another holiday that's just passed, which was Bonfire Night. So next week we are going to be doing V for Vendetta.
I love that film, man.
So I've never seen it. You've seen it. That's what we'll do next week. But those 3 films I mentioned are ones I would maybe like to come back to at some point.
It's got Hugo Weaving, which is Agent Smith from The Matrix, and it's got
Uh,
a Star Wars character, Natalie Portman. So he's a Star Wars reference.
Sorted. Are you pleased with that choice then?
Aye, I like it, mate. That's I really enjoy that film.
Out of the 3, Ghostbusters, It, and Smile, which one would you have wished I'd picked if I was to pick one?
Well, I've not seen Smile, so I've not seen the new It either. Like I watched the original. I had the original in DVD. I'd probably make the Ghostbusters, mate. To be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of it. The original, anyway.
Well, maybe It and Smile. Maybe it's one we could do in the future if you give it a watch. And even if you're not a massive fan of the original, then I'd be interested to see your take on the more modern version.
Aye, 100%. We'll do that, mate. All right.
So yeah.
So
So V for Vendetta next week.
V for Vendetta. Okay, good. So I'll get that watched. Right. Okay. So we're going to wrap up now. So again, a wee bit of housekeeping before we go. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Facebook. You can watch and listen to us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Audible, and Amazon Music. All right, so thanks for listening, folks. Again, like, share, subscribe on all our channels. It doesn't cost you a thing, and it helps our podcast grow. Okay, so I'm James. I probably wrote an essay on it. Paul has probably watched it in the wrong order. And Colin,
I probably haven't seen it.
thank you.